welcome to the show where we share the stories of the many who intersect with our healthcare system but are rarely heard from. My name is Kevin Poe, founder and editor of Kevin MD. Today in the show, we have Lisa Cronk. She is a pediatrician and she wrote the Kevin MD article, Physicians Have Gone From Being Heroes to Villains. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We'll get into your article in a little bit, but first off, can you just share your story and journey to where you are today?
So I am a pediatrician. I practice general pediatrics in a suburb of Minneapolis. And I went to undergrad at University of Notre Dame, go Irish, and then at medical school at Mayo Clinic and stayed there for my residency as well. I trained in that environment where it was the needs of the patient come first, and I like to carry that philosophy into my day-to-day practice. I really enjoy working with families and watching children grow and develop over time. I love to watch their progress and their learning and help families keep their children healthy and safe as they grow.
What are some of the general challenges that you face every day as a pediatrician?
So we have kind of a dual patient as a pediatrician. We have their patient who is the child, but we also have the family unit. That's very important in the growth and development of the child. So as a pediatrician, we're having to take both of those things into account. We're having to address the parents' concerns, make sure that what they need is addressed, but also making sure that the patient has what they need and that they're continuing to thrive and to grow and to learn and be healthy and safe. So we have to kind of take both of those things into account. With the pandemic, obviously things have been much more difficult, children falling ill, as well as all the changes that have occurred in children's daily lives that have affected them in both physical, mental, and academic ways. So it has become a much more challenging practice, obviously for all physicians, but also for pediatricians.
We're speaking towards the end of October, and of course, the COVID vaccine has been approved for patients ages 5 to 11. What's the general response of your families regarding the approval of the COVID vaccine for younger patients?
I would say the vast majority are very excited. We've been fielding many questions about when we're going to get it, when it's going to be in, when can we get this going. I think a lot of families are feeling that this is kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, feeling like this is a way that we can protect our children and allow ourselves to kind of lift some of those anxieties, lift some of those restrictions that have been kind of hanging over the heads of our children for almost 2 years now, and allowing them to get some more normalcy back. There's still a lot of academic disruption with kids being sick and being quarantined, and a lot of arguments, a lot of difficulty with managing school protocols and a lot of strife going on in our communities. And so I think parents and physicians and pediatricians especially are very excited that we're able to protect our children. We have a lot of children that have been very eagerly awaiting shots, which is not typical for children.
All right, let's transition now to the Kevin MD article that you wrote. It's titled,
Okay.
Physicians Have Gone From Being Heroes to Villains. Now, for those who didn't get a chance to read your article, can you just walk my audience through it and share the story of why you decided to write it?
Yeah, so I wrote this back in August. We were, as pediatricians, we have a very busy summer usually of doing school physicals and checkups and preparing for the year ahead. And this summer was very different for us just because we not only had all our kind of healthy season, but we also had a lot of illness going on. There were a lot of sick kids this summer, COVID, with the Delta variant really affecting children quite a bit, especially given that they weren't yet able to be vaccinated. And so our summer just got a little insane and we were all very stressed, all very overwhelmed. But part of it that made it more difficult was that all these discussions going on about going back to school and parents and children very anxious about how this was going to go, all amidst kids getting sick and, school board fights breaking out at school board meetings and, physicians being physically attacked when they go to, share information, things like that. So it just became a very, very stressful time. And I saw a lot of my colleagues really struggling. And when I'm part of a moms group online, a physician moms group, that we have a pediatrician group. And one of my colleagues, Dr. Ellie Ann Marty, had kind of highlighted a quote that had been running around about supporting healthcare workers because we were struggling to keep our desire to serve. And that struck a nerve because I really felt like a lot of us were feeling that. We were all feeling kind of that we love what we do, we love our patients, we love what we're doing, but my goodness, has it been stressful? And a lot of people are burning out. Physician burnout is just skyrocketing. And so when she had written kind of something similar about, gosh, we're just exhausted, it stayed with me through the week. So later that week, it had been a crazy, crazy, crazy week. And I just stayed up late one night and decided to kind of write how I'd been feeling. And I just put that actually on my personal social media account. And the response it got was huge. I wasn't expecting it. I just thought, I really just want to put out there how I'm feeling, how much some of my colleagues may be feeling. And there was a big response. So it made me feel that this really resonated with people and that I wasn't the only one that was feeling this way. And so that's kind of how it came about. But really what I talk about in the article is, the early days of this, there was solidarity. We're all against COVID. We're all fighting this battle together. We're all, doing whatever we can to keep everybody safe and healthy. And there was that community feel. There was that praise. There was that, all these people that are going to work every day when we're hunkering down, our grocery store workers, our delivery people, our physicians, our nurses. There was a lot of gratitude and there was a lot of community and solidarity. And then we lost that. The further we've gone into this, understandably, people are tired of the pandemic. People are tired of restrictions and changes to our daily lives. And it's affecting a lot of people different ways. We're all in the same storm, but we're not in all the same boat. So I think that has made it really difficult because the physicians and nurses and healthcare providers are still working really hard. And the pandemic is getting harder and harder and harder on all of us. And yet now we're the bad guys. Now we're being criticized when we share medical information, when we, translate some of this very complex data and this complex information for our patients and answer questions and put ourselves out there to say, we really want our kids back in school, but here's a good, safe way to do it. And are literally being attacked verbally, physically on media. Our practices are being, blasted on social media, things like that, when we're really striving to take care of our patients and to do a good job and to share all that. Now we're the bad guys. And that's really difficult because while we're all burning out, we're also being told that our efforts and our work is not valued anymore and that we're being put down. So that was kind of the gist of it. I was really struck by, there's an image going around of the physician holding a hospital bed up and he's underwater, or he or she. And what I worry is that, there's a point that healthcare provider, that physician is going to drown. And then where are we at? They're pushing us to the brink. They're pushing us to burnout. When we all burn out, who are they left with, right? So that image kind of struck me as, we're getting close to drowning and there's going to be nobody left to pull us out. So that was my kind of, I guess, frustration was, there was this, care for your neighbor. There was this, do unto others. There was this community spirit. There was this sacrifice, and that was recognized and that was appreciated and kind of gave us the fuel to keep going. And now we're the bad guys. So
when you hear physicians being villainized, verbally harassed, or even attacked, tell me what goes through your mind and how do you overcome that and go to work every day and be the best pediatrician you can be?
Yeah, I think it's just frustrating because I don't think people realize that being a physician is a service. The majority of people that go into medicine are going into medicine to be of service to people. We care, we go through a lot to go into medicine. I mean, medical school, preparing for medical school residency, all of that is, we dedicate decades of our lives to learning how to care for people and practicing caring for people, and to kind of have all that dedication, all that preparation, all that knowledge, all that expertise kind of thrown back in our faces is very frustrating. It's very kind of demeaning and demoralizing to have our value that we can offer to people be devalued, be minimized, be rejected. So I don't think, it's like I've been tempted to think, what would happen if I Googled something on someone else's profession and decided to lecture them on it? How would that go over? It wouldn't go over well. If I tried to tell a lawyer how to do their job, if I try and tell an electrician, how to wire my house, that doesn't go over well. And I don't understand why people think that all our decades of preparation are, debated with a Google search. I mean, it's very demoralizing to feel like we are really working at max capacity, driving ourselves to the point of exhaustion, and it's not good enough. I think what keeps us going are the people who do appreciate us. All it takes is a thank you. All it takes is one patient, saying, we know you're working hard and we know you care about.
You mentioned that you posted your story on your Facebook feed and you received a significant response. What was some of the things that were said?
A lot of support, a lot of people saying we had no idea it was this bad. We had no idea what this has been like. A lot of physicians saying, yes, this is exactly what we're going through. A lot of physicians saying that it really hit it on the head.
We're talking to Lisa Cronk. She is a pediatrician, and she wrote the Kevin MD article, Physicians Have Gone from Being Heroes to Villains. Lisa, for those other physicians who are being villainized and demoralized and possibly thinking about leaving clinical medicine because of all the vitriol that's out there, what kind of advice do you have for them so they can keep going?
I think we really need to look towards the value that we have in each interaction with our patients. So think of that patient that really needs you, that really appreciates you. Where would they be without you? That kind of thing. We are seeing a record number of, retirements or going into non-clinical medicine, or people just flat out quitting. I know nurses and our medical assistants, we are all very short-staffed everywhere. All it takes is, I think, a little bit of finding that patient that makes you keep going, finding that value that you put into it and realizing that you have value.
And my final question, Lisa, what's your take-home message that you want to leave with the Kevin MD audience?
I think we all need to realize that we as a community need to support each other as well, that the culture that we have in this country, or the status we are right now, is villainizing physicians and is pushing us to the point of exhaustion. And so recognizing that, we need to reach out to each other and realize that we are not the only people doing this. There are all these physicians working so hard, pushing themselves, getting to the point of exhaustion. We really need to support each other, communicate with each other, share that that's how we're feeling, and find ways to bring back kind of that value that we are to each other and that we are to our patients. Really sharing that this is going to get better, we are going to get through this, but we just have to make sure that we're supporting each other through it. Because individually, there's no way we can hoist that bed out of the water. We have to all be kind of holding an end and working together to support our patients and support each other.
Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your story time and insight. And thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you, Dr. Poe.